The Mercedes-Benz G-Class. This is one of the most iconic, recognizable and desirable SUVs on the planet. It's a car that, let's face it, spends most of its time ferrying socialites down inner city streets, but it's also a car that proves its worth in the rugged wilds of nature. But we've got a new diesel-powered trim level available, and let me tell you, I reckon this is the pick of the range. Forget the V8 and forget the AMG, because this is the Mercedes-Benz G-Class that you actually want. This is the G450d, and it marks the return of diesel power into this iconic four-wheel drive. Now, this thing has a huge amount of torque. It's going to be better than a G63 off-road, I reckon, as well. And the price, well, it's still very big, but this is the cheapest G-Class in the range at the moment. We're going to take it off-road, we're going to take it on-road and see what it's like. Let's go for a drive. When you're talking about the G-Class, this G450d is kind of cheap, but at the same time, it's still very expensive. You've got an asking price of $214,900 plus on-road costs. But compare that to the $383,000 for the G63 AMG Off-Road Pro or $249,000 for the electric G580, and you get the idea. This is somewhat of a value choice. The G450d is defined from the outside mostly by the off-road friendly 18-inch wheels, which can be wrapped in all-terrain tyres for no extra cost. It's less chromy and blingy overall as well, with a different grille design and a less aggressive front bumper than the AMG model. Under the bonnet is a 3-litre turbocharged inline-6 diesel, which lags behind the V8 for power and torque, of course, but I've got to say this is still a very impressive engine. It's got 270 kilowatts and 750 newton meters at the ready, which means it can get from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in less than 6 seconds. Not too shabby for a car so heavy and shaped like a tissue box. It also promises to be significantly less thirsty than that G63 and can go up to 1,000 kilometers, we reckon, in between fills on the highway. Now, there's no mistaking what this car is, of course, but for me, I really like the slightly understated nature of this G-Class in comparison to, of course, the G63. You're going to tell what this car is. It's got a different design grille here, but it's still got all of those iconic design features. I mean, these blinkers on top, that's the big thing for me. When you get off-road though, these 18-inch wheels in this G-Class is much, much better suited for when you want to go up into the hills and do a bit of touring around, because we've got Fork and Wild Peak all-terrain tyres here. They're on an 18-inch wheel, so it is a much more practical choice, I think, overall. And still, does this car need 20s or 22s to look good? I don't think it does. It looks awesome as is. The rubber guards down the side as well, and of course just the boxy shape of this vehicle overall. We've still got a live axle at the rear here. We've got adaptive damping on all 4 corners, so we're going to see what that is like off-road. There is independent suspension now at the front, no more solid front axle for the G-Class for a number of years now. But still, this thing is meant to be really awesome off-road. Really keen to check it out. Let's see how it goes. Off-road performance on initial impressions in this G-Class is excellent. It's not just about the triple locking diffs, by the way, either. The suspension in this car feels really good, and it's helped by the dampers that can slacken off significantly and provide great traction and stability. In fact, this is one of the most natural and stable feeling four-wheel drives I've had off-road when they've had independent front suspension fitted. Normally, they're a bit flippy-floppy and all over the place, but this felt really planted. You've got a good range of off-road driving modes available, and the gearing in low range is also great. That is helped by the excellent 9-speed transmission and that torquey 3-litre diesel engine. Throw in those common sense 18-inch wheels, and this does feel like a four-wheel drive that you can actually take on tough tracks confidently. This is 100% the real deal, a proper four-wheel drive. Standard equipment on the inside includes leather trimming with heated and electric seats up front, but you don't get any ventilation in this model. There is electric adjustment for the steering column, however, with 3-zone climate control and some nice open pole walnut trimming around the place. There's also interior ambient lighting, and that 12.3-inch infotainment display is matched by a digital instrument cluster of the same size. And it's rounded out by an 18-speaker, 760-watt Burmester sound system, which does work very nicely. Here's the interior of the Mercedes-Benz G450d, and There's a word I'm going to use when describing this G-Class a few times, and that word is solid. You get that sense on the inside of this car. Everything just feels incredibly solid. The grab handles, even the air vents, all the buttons here, everything just feels incredibly solid, really good quality. All the touch points are nice. Now in terms of practicality, got some really nice timber finish here around this center console. You slide that forward, you've got some cup holders there, you've got a wireless charger, some USB points. These cup holders are actually heating and cooling, and it actually works. Pretty cool little feature. And then you've got some storage in the center console there as well. Now, there isn't a huge amount of storage in this cabin, and the cabin isn't particularly big overall, to be honest with you. You might be surprised because this car has so much presence on the road, of course, but when you're inside, the interior dimensions remind me of something like a 70 Series Land Cruiser or even an old Land Rover Defender. A little bit narrow, slightly pokey, and you'll notice it in the second row mostly, I think. There's not a lot of legroom there. Now, the footwells up front are pretty good. There's heaps of headroom, but if you've got big adults sitting in the back, they might be asking you to shift your seat forward in the front here. Also, kids might be kicking those seat backs quite a bit if this is going to be your family car. Now, the boot, that's good. It's big, boxy. The big swing away door might take a bit of getting used to in shopping centers and that sort of thing. So all in all, it's not massive on space, and to be honest with you, it's probably not massive on features as well. But I think where this car trades is just, I'm going to use that word again, that solid feeling that you get here. You open and shut the doors, you listen to the noise, you listen to the doors locking and unlocking. It sounds like the bolt action off a rifle. It's quite amazing, actually. That's what you're paying for with this car, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think you really get it anywhere else. So if you want that, this is where you get it. Driving this Mercedes G-Class is a bit of a unique experience because you've got a luxury car on the inside in terms of the touch points, the seat. You've of course got these adjustments for all of the seat movements on the door here, but at the same time you've got this flat windscreen that reminds me of a Jeep Wrangler and a seating position that is similar to, well, not much else out there these days. Maybe a 70 Series Land Cruiser, old Land Rover Defender, that sort of thing. And it just speaks to the fact that this G-Class has really stuck to its roots so strongly as it's evolved. Now, this G-Class has changed over the years. It's got independent front suspension now. It's got adaptive damping. It's got a fairly sophisticated chassis as far as things go, but it's still a ladder chassis. It's still got a live rear axle. It's not the most outrageously good ride quality either, to be honest with you. It feels quite firm at times on some surfaces, but it has a sense of quality and solidness at the same time. It doesn't ever really jar over bumps. You do have some adaptive damping there, so some different driving modes to soften things off at times, and that does work well. But it just feels very purposeful. It feels very mechanical, very connected to what's going on. It's an interesting car to drive because it feels old school in that kind of way while still being modern and luxurious. Now, this 3-litre 6-cylinder diesel engine, it's an absolute peach. I do love an inline 6 diesel. I love it in things like a Ram. I love it in things like BMW, Ineos Grenadier, Land Rover Defender, and this inline 6 is fantastic as well. You've got 270 kilowatts and 750 newton meters. There is no shortage of pulling power here, and that torque really is the key figure for me because it just feels effortless. You've got full-time 4-wheel drive here, so there's never really any sense of wheel slip or anything like that to worry about. And this diesel engine is impressively refined at the same time. It doesn't clatter at all. It's pretty responsive. Although I will say the stop-start system in traffic does take a little bit longer than I would like to fire the engine back up and get moving if you're in a little bit of a hurry. So that could be improved slightly. But it's very quiet overall. This vehicle feels incredibly solid in terms of the build quality, the sealing, the noise suppression, and that sort of thing. Now, in comparison to a G63 AMG, of course, this doesn't have the same soundtrack, it doesn't have the same performance, the same kind of theatre. But this is no slouch. We're looking at 0 to 100 in under 6 seconds, so this is a fast car, plenty fast enough in my opinion. And it's just so smooth and easy to drive, and it's really enjoyable from that point of view. And you're going to save a bit of money at the Bowser as well, which is important probably because you've spent all your money buying this vehicle to start with. So we're seeing an average of around 11 litres per 100 Ks of diesel. Now I'm going to hazard a guess that that's significantly better than most G-Classes with the big V8. And it's something that could be improved as well because we did a bit of off-roading including in that. So if you're doing a long highway run in this car, that number might even settle down into the single digits quite comfortably. All in all, this G-Class, it feels like such a special car overall. It can't compete in terms of overall refinement, it can't compete in some ways, but it also feels like it doesn't even need to. This is a car that is absolutely its own thing. And this car, this G450d, it's not cheap. It's the cheapest G-Class though, and for me, this is the one that I would absolutely buy because it's just got this special sense that you can't really get anywhere else. Well, there's no getting around the fact that this G450d is still a very expensive car. 200 grand at the end of the day sounds like a frightening amount of money to me. And when you compare it to something like a Land Rover Defender, you're getting, well, a similar kind of car, but the Defender costs a lot less. But at the same time, the Defender doesn't feel the same way as this G-Class. This has a solid feeling that you don't really get anywhere else. It feels solid on the inside, it feels solid to drive, it feels solid to listen to as well. The doors, the engine, everything about it just feels incredibly solid. And this car, well, it's an icon for a reason. It drives nicely on road. Yes, it's not the most smooth ride out there, and that interior is probably a little bit more pokey on the inside than you might expect, but it's just a Mercedes-Benz G-Class. It does exactly what it says on the tin. It's good on-road, it's good off-road. Actually, it's excellent off-road, and it's got this solid feeling, like I said before, that you can't really get anywhere else. So from that point of view, this car absolutely delivers. I love it.